On March 18, 1926, in Manila, 25-year-old Second Lieutenant John S. Thompson calmly and without making any statement, walked to a scaffold where a noose was placed around his neck. Moments later, he met his end. He became the first American officer to be executed in peacetime, and he was the only graduate of the U.S. Military Academy to be executed in its fabled history. Second Lieutenant John Sewell Thompson, nicknamed Tommy, was born in Parnassus, Pennsylvania, in 1899. Tommy entered West Point in 1920 and graduated in 1924. After graduating, and receiving a commission as an officer in the Signal Corps, Tommy was assigned to the Philippines. He arrived in November 1924 and was stationed at Fort William McKinley, 6 miles southeast of the city of Manila. In the Philippines, Tommy met 16-year-old Audrey Burley, the stepdaughter of an army physician serving in the islands. She belongs to the new generation of women with energetic freedom. Like most of the women of her time, she has a black, bobbed hair and enjoys dinners and dances with friends. She is extroverted and interested in acting. By February 1925, they were inseparable and deeply in love with each other. In a letter to his mother, Tommy vividly described his relationship with Audrey, and as he put it, "We went out night after night just by ourselves, generally to the club or in back of it. It was wonderful with the tropical moonlight and Audrey's eyes and lips which were more wonderful than any moon lit up for lovers. Sometimes we would hire a car for an hour or so during the evening. We loved to perfection." As Audrey said later over the phone, there wasn't anyone could show us how to love. In early April 1925, Audrey's mother had decided that her daughter should return to the United States at the end of April. Audrey had promised to remain faithful to Tommy, and even promised that she secretly would marry him prior to her return to the United States. Tommy was doubly disappointed with the turn of events, as the U.S. Congress had also amended the rules on the pay for military officers with enlisted service prior to entry in the U.S. Military Academy. Under the amendment, Tommy's years of uniformed service prior to West Point would not count for pay. He was upset that the expected increase in pay as a military officer would not happen, and he could not afford to marry Audrey Burley with his salary. Late in the evening on Saturday, April 4, 1925, Tommy took a loaded handgun and hired a taxicab to take him to the Manila hotel. He was expecting to see Audrey, who had previously agreed to go to a dance with him at the hotel. After learning that Audrey was not at the hotel, he proceeded at the nearby Army and Navy Club, where he found and invited Audrey to go for a drive with him. Tommy and Audrey began talking at the back seat of the car. Later, the conversation became unpleasant and arguments between the couple ensued. Suddenly, 5 gunshots were heard. Audrey muttered words to Tommy before falling to the side door of the car. 5 shots had entered Audrey's body. In front of the lifeless body of Audrey, Tommy turned the gun to his heart, but the gun did not fire. The Filipino driver, startled with what he witnessed, stopped the car. Tommy ordered the driver to drive to the 15th Infantry Regiment's guardhouse at Fort McKinley. Afraid for his own safety, the Filipino driver obliged. Upon arriving at Fort McKinley, Tommy got out of the taxicab, walked up on the porch of the guardhouse, and said to guard on duty, I am Lieutenant John S. Thompson, self-confessed slayer of Miss Audrey Burley. Lock me up, take her to the hospital." Tommy was charged for murder before a court-martial. Tommy admitted that he had contemplated killing Audrey Burley as early as April 2, 1925 for two reasons. Firstly, Thompson was upset about being deprived of longevity pay for services as an enlisted man and as a cadet at West Point. Secondly, he fears of the loneliness for the time without Audrey Burley, and the uncertainty as to whether things will still be the same then as before. Thompson refused to allow his counsel to raise the defense of insanity. He claimed that he acted in the grip of and because of passion or fear aroused by the thought of losing Audrey. It was a defense that doomed his conviction and he was sentenced to death by hanging. Appeal was denied. The parents of Tommy tried to save his life by pleading clemency to President Coolidge, President of the United States of America. It was the parents' love to an erring son, whose fervent wish is to end his life. In a letter to his mother, Tommy said, "Mother, I saw her falling over on the seat, crying 'I love you.' That is what makes me want to be myself deprived of life. I knew Audrey was wonderful and the best girl on earth, but I didn't know they made her that loving and brave." 5 shots had entered her body causing 11 wounds and she told the one who had done it that she loved him. President Coolidge denied the appeal. The denial of the appeal is all that is needed to grant the last wish of 2nd Lieutenant John Sewell Thompson.